Well, the massacre that happened in 2014 involved school children. It was in Peshawar, which is right by the mountains actually in Pakistan. It's a beautiful city, and I remember that day very, very well. So it was on December 16th, 2014. It started like any ordinary winter day in Karachi, which is the city in which I'm from, and that day was not really your ordinary day because my mother was having a lunch. She was inviting all of her friends over, and I was just upstairs in my room, and I remember being told that I had to come downstairs. So when I went downstairs, everything was very normal. They were talking about so many different weddings that they were meant to attend because December is seen as the festive month in Pakistan where everyone gets married or has lunches or dinners to celebrate the winter, to celebrate the cool weather, and to, of course, celebrate being outside. It's a lot like it's a lot like what Americans do in the summer. And when I went down, everything was normal. It was a light conversation, and for a light lunch, it was perfect. I went upstairs, and funny thing was that I didn't have my phone with me. So when I went upstairs and I went back to my room, I looked at my phone and I started getting all these alerts from my sister who was at work. Now, my sister's a lawyer, so lawyers tend to kind of know when something hits the country very fast. So she had called me and she was saying something about Peshawar. And I said, what's happened in Peshawar? And she's like, turn on the television. I'm at work. I don't have a television on me, but I have my phone, and it's saying that a school was invaded. And I thought to myself, a school? Now that's interesting because that's actually never, not to my knowledge at least, never quite happened. And then the news kind of portrayed it to be like a minor thing at first, but then about half an hour to an hour maybe, we started getting alerts about the death tolls, in which there were about 146 kids that were assassinated in this attack that was orchestrated by Taliban militants. And their whole reason for attacking the school was because it was an army school. And the children who attended that school were children of generals, colonels, and the army had recently launched a mission to attack their bases. And so to kind of avenge their twisted ideology, they decided to invade a school. And I went downstairs about after that hour to kind of tell my mother. By the time I got downstairs, everyone had found out about it. Everyone had gotten calls saying that the city was going to be under lockdown, saying that, they're at large, these militants have just corrupted everything, and because everyone in that room was a mother, they really felt it much harder than I did. And everyone had to leave as soon as they possibly could. I mean, it was I think 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they just had to leave as soon as they possibly could. Like, immediately, they just left. And my sister had to come home much earlier from work because the city was anticipating a lot of violence that night. It was more or less like an outcry over the violence, a retaliation, if you could call it. And throughout that day, I just remember montages of all of those kids' faces that were just like plastered in my face. They were small boys, teenagers, no less from the ages of 5 until about 14. One thing that I found particularly interesting was that they never showed girls that were killed. And I kind of understand why they didn't do that, because they didn't want a bigger outrage. Because to kill a girl in Pakistan, you have to be like a special kind of evil to do that. So, tears were on the streets. Karachi's never been that depressing to be around. I remember everyone just felt empty that day. Everyone in solidarity changed their social media pictures to black in solidarity. And it's so surprising, even now, people still have that. Because I think that's something that we really can't get over. And every year when I go back home, I mean, it's going to be 2 years this December, but the first December that I went back home, it was as if that same negative and somber energy had just returned as fresh as ever. And it's such a surreal feeling. And I remember so many people telling me that this is our 9/11. But I really wanted to tell them no, because 9/11 was a very separate tragedy that happened to America, and it inevitably happened to the world. But no, this is our 12/16, and that's a day that'll go down in our history as being one of the blackest days imaginable, because for me, especially, to murder a child, and that also to murder 146 of them, means that you kind of take away these integral puzzles for the next generation, and you do so willingly, knowing that you have the capability to end so many childhoods, so many dreams, aspirations. They could have grown up and been in the military, they could have grown up and been in the Air Force, one of them could have even affected change as the president, or not even anything political. They could have invented things, they could have revolutionized Pakistan, and I don't think that those militants even thought of that. I don't think that they thought of wanting a better. I think for them, the better is the violence, the better is how corrupt can we make this land, how black can we make their souls feel, how quickly can we erase the green and white in which they take so much pride in and replace it with black.